So I just wanted to share another story about something else that happened with my aunt. And if you remember, a couple months ago, I posted a video about, so this was on the same day, because my grandma, so that's my aunt, the one that's about 80 years old, the one that with the really, really over-the-top religious Christian garbage, she is probably about a year older than my grandma, and my grandma died it was January of 2016. And I wrote a video a couple of months ago about how, I don't know if you watched it, but I did a video about how, I'll just briefly summarize, basically, when everybody was gathered at my grandma's house, like her immediate family, to go ride down to the funeral, I was sitting with my aunt and then another family member, but I can't remember who it was. And my aunt and she said something like, well, if you have sex, you're going to have a baby. And anyway, I did a video. If you subscribe, I did a video about that a while ago. Well, anyway, here's part 2 about the drama before my grandmother's funeral. So there was also another incident later that day, probably about an hour later. My aunt, the religious one, so she's my grandma's sister, so my mom's sister, was driving the 3 of us down to my grandma's funeral. So my aunt was driving the car, my mom is in the passenger seat, and I'm in the back. And anyway, my aunt and we kind of got into another argument, and I was kind of actually, surprised and, about her reaction, because I was telling her, I don't even know how we got on to the subject, but I just couldn't take this anymore. And by the time I had been nagged by her for at least 5 years, and I hardly even know her. I don't even know her phone number. And it was just very annoying. And so we're in the car driving south to my grandma's funeral, and we're going over the highway, and my aunt and I somehow get onto this subject, and I was telling her about a guy that I had dated. I don't even know how we came across the subject, but I was talking about some guy that I had dated probably about 8 months after I got out of high school. Anyway, I told her that I don't remember how we got on the subject, but I'm kind of guessing that one of her sons lives down there with his wife in Las Vegas, and I think we kind of got onto the subject that way. So I'm telling my aunt, I'm saying, when I was dating, this guy, he asked me to get married to him, but I said to my aunt I didn't like it because he proposed to me over text message that he wanted to go to Las Vegas and get married to me. And then my aunt really didn't like it at all, and she says to me, if a guy asks you to get married to him, he just wants to get into your pants. And anyway, I was just fed up. I didn't care. I didn't care about my aunt's feelings. I didn't care. My mother was in the car at this point. And I said, well, we were already having sex, and he is great in bed. And then my aunt just basically loses her temper. And she's like, well, she said something obviously about, you're not supposed to be having sex when you're not married. And I said, I love sex. And she says, well, we don't support that lifestyle. And if you're going to live your life that way, then you're going to have to shut up. And I was surprised and everything like that, and I think my mom kind of got in the middle of it and everything. She's like, okay guys, let's just try to drive, please. So anyway, that's how my aunt thinks about marriage. And anyway, I thought it would be another crazy story that I could share with my audience.